Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphanlast, aka Skylar Madison, and today I'm going to be working on the 51 animation challenges. If you look at the list of challenges from my introductory video to this series, you'll have noticed that some of these exercises involve a little bit of repetition. So our last exercise was a simple animated head turn, and this one is a head turn with anticipation. And this is signified by having the head tilt up before the head turn. Of course, by the time that this rough animation is finished, I feel it sort of needs to have a resolution or some follow-through action. But I do have more plans with this particular animation, and I'll be cleaning this up as well, but more on that much later, I guess. The first thing you'll notice from this animation is that I'm trying to animate a bit of a more realistic face doing the head turn, and although I'm not too happy with some of these in-betweens and some of the results, I'm thinking I'll be refining the appearance of the character in the cleanup process. The reason why I decided to animate a more realistic face is because with the basic animated head turn, the character was so cartoony. You didn't have to think too much about shifting geometry, the shifting of shapes. An oval eyeball, for example, will be an oval regardless of if it's straight ahead or in a profile position. And the main goal of doing this particular exercise right here that you're watching was to see if I could make anticipation first and foremost, but for me it was also about making sure that I could get some decent drawings in. First off, I create a level called Raster Anticipation Head Turn, and I found that the DPI mainly deals with scan levels and really doesn't affect the resolution of your drawings. It's the camera resolution that influences the resolution of your drawings. So I'm not really going to be messing with the DPI unless I'm drawing animations by hand with a pencil and paper and everything and scanning them in with a supported printer or something, which I don't think I'll be doing anytime soon or ever. I'm not really quite sure. I can't really look into a crystal ball and find out. Now, earlier I said that I was thinking about doing a head turn with a rotoscope, but this is my second time revisiting a rendition of a head turn animation, and I don't want my channel to be flooded with nothing but head turn animations. If someone new winds up looking at my channel, I want them to actually see something that has a variety of content. So I think that by the time that I'll be using a rotoscope, I'll be on something that I'm not going to be revisiting all too much, and probably not going to be something that's in the 51 Animation Challenges series. At the very beginning of the roughing out stage, I changed the color to my brush to a light yellow. This isn't necessary, I was just playing around with ways to sketch out the animation. In the end, I settled with a blue color, which was equally kind of stupid, which it's because, like, some of my onion skins are blue as well. Now, there's this thing called Shift and Trace in Opentoonz. It's basically a way to move onion skins to the position of the actual frame that you're currently working on, and you can access it by going Level, Shift and Trace, and you're able to haphazardly select which onion skin you'd like to move around, rotate, move the access point, etc. If you go to Level, Edit, Shift and Trace, that's how you move these Shift and Trace skins around and rotate them and etc. Shift and Trace is a really good way to make sure that you keep the same volume of your keyframes and in-betweens, and you'll see me using it quite a bit in this video. But there's a few words of caution when it comes to Shift and Trace. I feel as though the interface to interact with Shift and Trace skins needs to be improved. Sometimes you'll move the wrong Shift and Trace skin, and you'll have to go to Level, Reset, Shift and Trace, and have to start all over again with moving around your Shift and Trace skins. It's something I struggled with throughout the full duration of this video. There are occasions where I have to reset the Shift and Trace over and over again, something like 15 times, just because it wouldn't do what I needed it to do. Also, another word of caution. Make sure that when you're done using the Shift and Trace, make sure that you turn it off by unticking the Shift and Trace in the level menu. If you don't turn it off, and you wind up treating your shift and trace skins as if you're using them as if they're default onion skins, you'll find that you'll have an animation with jittery lines throughout the duration of the animation. Fortunately, I caught on to this and found a workaround until I figured out what the actual problem was. You turn it off exactly the same way that you turn it on. You go level, shift and trace. Remember that you can customize the strength of your onion skins by going to File, Preferences, Onion Skins, and you're able to adjust the strength of your onion skins with the paper thickness. The higher the number you type into there, the lighter your onion skin will be, and the lower the number, the more vibrant they'll actually start showing up. Unfortunately, there's no flip shift and trace option in the level menu, so I went ahead and lined up the shift and trace with the last keyframe of the animation and just kind of lined things out and kind of used it as a reference. In this animation, I didn't really focus on a dramatic shift in emotion. I wanted to do something more subtle with the expression and see if anyone could notice. I don't know if I was successful or not, but I guess I'll know by the time that I finish the animation with the cleanup and the color and everything like that. I feel as though the head does a little bit too much of a dip in the middle of the head turn, and I'll see what I can do about that in the future. Sometimes you just need to experiment in order to see what works and what doesn't. Now, I have been using frame-by-frame arcs through this animation, but I felt as though I needed a little bit more going on with the arcs. I needed to see what was going on. So I made a dedicated level for the arcs, just because I feel every technique has its time and place, when it's effective and when it's not. And it's not an either-or sort of situation the way I see it. If you have two techniques that seem to work, why not use both? Sometimes I've noticed that shift and trace information don't show up unless you have a brush stroke already established for that particular digital sheet of paper that you're working on. It's weird, and I don't know why it does that sometimes. I found that if they're not even showing up, just making a brush stroke with a My Paint eraser brush will do the trick in getting them to show up. Now for this animation, I didn't really mess around with the spacing chart. I just bought this book called Character Animation Crash Course, and it's written by the same guy that animated the genie in Disney's Aladdin movie, Eric Goldberg. I'm going to make an effort to read through the entire book, and hopefully I'll nail down how to create the spacing chart. It just feels as though there's no anchor or basis of comparison, no point of reference at all when I go about trying to create spacing charts and such like that. I also have an animation professional who goes by the name Soul Reaver Foe online. He suggested that I try out an exercise that he sent me, so I'll be working on that this coming week, as well as the next 51 animation challenge video, which I feel should be rather simplistic because I believe it's just animating a character blinking, and I believe I've already done that multiple times actually at this point, but I'll go ahead and give the challenge its due respect. So I hope to provide 2 Opentoonz specific videos next week. Again, I can't promise anything, but I don't believe that I have any social events planned for the next coming week. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys something that I've started to get a lot of requests for, and I've just figured it out. Looking at a white screen for an extended period of time can cause quite a bit of eye strain, and you can wind up actually having a form of eye pain because of this. And there's a way to change the color of your canvas by going to X Sheet, Scene Settings, and then you have a camera background color, and you have RGB sliders which you can use to mix the colors on the screen so that you can have a nice mid-tone to your canvas, and you can either start or resume your animation work from there without having to worry too much about having eye pain while you're using Opentoonz. In getting the timing to look right, I just kept playing the animation over and over again and deciding when things would be set on 1s and when things would be set on 2s, and generally trying to see what timing led to the most natural type of body language. And I also had to make a few decisions as to whether or not I needed to add more frames or if things needed to be reworked according to those judgment calls. And here I use the edit tool to scale up the image and position it to where I wanted it to be. The keyframe is at the very beginning of the timeline or X sheet. Keep in mind that when you're using the edit tool, you're not truly moving or scaling up the image. You're just animating it. But seeing as I'm not going to be doing too much, anything elaborate basically with this animation with regards to the edit tool, I'm not trying to create some sort of mesh or bone structure. I'm not trying to create some sort of cutout animation. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just going to use another level to do the cleanup work and everything. Just using the edit tool for this purpose is just fine. I then render the animation for the beginning portion of the video that you're watching here right now, and I go to the hard drive inside of the file browser in Windows, and I find the Opentoonz stuff folder. I go to projects and I find the project that I was working on specifically, and I find the render in the outputs file, and it plays the animation rather well. And I mention all of this because some people may not understand what I mean whenever I reference the Opentoonz stuff folder. This is what I'm talking about here. And that pretty much concludes it for this video, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you didn't like it, please like, share, and subscribe anyways. Have a great day.